That's right. It's
That's
the
right.
morning show here on ABC News Radio KMET 1490 AM. I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. We got a lot of great things for you. We got exciting news and we got stuff going on. But first, we got Jess Sanchez over there. Jesse, what's going on?
Good morning. Oh yes, there was a lot of stuff going on. Crazy weather, planes, Southwest Airlines going crazy. I found this story. I wish they would bring back. What do you call those that torture thing back? Not torture, but like the medieval things where they would put like criminals' heads in like those wood things with their arms out.
The guillotine. Wait, wait. Oh.
I don't want them cutting their head off. I just
Okay,
want
the
them.
other one, the one where like the shame, where they had to like be in the what do they call that?
I have no. I want to say put them in the stocks, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's what it is. Yeah, and then they had to hang out their hand, and they were stuck. It was usually like a public shame. I don't know if that works. Does that work? I think some criminals need that. I think I'm all right with that a little.
Honestly, after this news story, I was gonna tell you about it yesterday, but yeah, no, they really should bring it back, and specifically for certain things. Like this story about a Texas man who dressed in women's clothes and allegedly snapped photos underneath a stall in a mall bathroom.
Got it. Okay, yeah. See, he needs what the stocks. I think that's what they call them. Yeah, the stocks where they hung out their hands, right, and then they closed, and you couldn't get out no matter what, and you were locked. And they had like a, and then they had on. I think it was Disney and a couple others where they had that. And then the guy gets out. He's like, "I'm crazy," and then they would do like and some I think would do even like, yeah, there's some interesting things in the days of like night. You know what I mean? But yeah. So wait. So what was the whole thing like? Help me out.
So this guy, he dresses up in women's clothing and he goes into the bathroom, takes pictures underneath the bathroom stalls.
Okay.
So a person witnessed what was happening and started chasing them, but they like brandished a pepper gun.
Okay.
So either way, it's filthy, it's disgusting, and I can't even believe some people. Well, I can't believe. Every time I say I can't believe something, everything is shown wrong, and they do it. So like we should really like publicly shame these people and like put up faces like this is a pervert, blah blah blah.
Right, because they do it again and again. Right. Right. That makes sense.
Right? Because I'm like, yeah, you'd be surprised how often this happens, and it's actually really gross.
Yeah,
Like,
that makes sense actually. You know what? You know what? And if I know some people are like, well, and there's movies about that. I'm thinking of one called Porky's. I never saw it all the way through. I remember if you right, you remember what I'm talking about?
yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that movie would not fly today at all.
Right, you're like that's what boys do, right? And now you're locked up for that, right? It's called like peeping tom, you know. So you get caught. I don't think so. Anyway, yeah, sometimes it goes like so. And I always say if this were, but I don't think people get it. But yeah, I don't think they do. But if you were a dad and this was your kid, you'd be upset, right? You'd be like, okay, I'm gonna have at you. Or I don't know, but yeah. So anyway, at least they're being called out, right?
That they are. I'm glad the police were able to get a hold of him, and yeah, so he's on bail. But either way, it's oh no, that'd be rude. I remember someone said like, yeah, let's tattoo like pervert on somebody's head. I'd be like, that's kind of messed up.
That's pervert. Oh, on his head. Yeah, I wouldn't do that because then people would be like, "Oh, that's a brand." Like you know, there's a lot of people with tattoos. You're like, "Oh, okay," and then you know they're like, "That's my brand." You're like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." You know, and then pervert the brand, right? Like you think of like people wearing Playboy on their butt. You know what I mean? Like they're the first one to say, but they're the ones who wear it. Anyway, well, there you go. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, I know you got some other news. What else is going on?
Let's see. I have a good story, and I also have a biotech startup I am following.
Okay, let's go with the biotech because that sounds fun.
Okay, so I mentioned yesterday about a drug I heard called rapamycin,
Okay.
and it's a drug that's supposed to be used for immunosuppressant for organ transplant patients.
Okay.
Or yeah, so for organ transplants. immunosuppressant. I'm not sure what that means. Either way, I'm kind of dumb. But either way, they found it has a interesting side effect that it has potential anti-aging effects.
Okay.
So they're testing it out on dogs and animals and stuff like that. Now, for me, I don't care about using it on myself, but if I can get another 5 to 6 years with my dog friend, I will take that in a heartbeat.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I get that. There's a lot of, well, you got a little one, and he's so cute, and then you got another little one, and he's so cute, right? So, anyone who has like a little animal, so what does it do for the animal? Does it, like, how does it, like, if you had to
Okay, so
describe how it works for someone who wants it eventually, like, why
see
would
how
someone look at it to invest? You know what I mean?
let's see how it works. Organisms have a chronological age and a biological age. The latter accounts for an individual's habits, behaviors, disease, and other factors affecting the body. Let's see, individuals, human, canine, or otherwise, age at different rates, and the effects of aging seen in tissues and cells can appear at different times in the individuals at the same chronological age. One marker of intense interest, a chemical modification that changes the structure but not the sequence of DNA as an individual ages. Let's see, what else is it saying? It involves the addition of methyl groups, a molecule made up of one carbon and three hydrogen atoms, to specific sites on DNA, turning genes on and off. Hmm.
Okay. Gene editing is what it is. Gene editing, right?
In a way, yeah, I guess certain chemicals turn certain things on and off, which they weren't aware it even happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. They've been doing that for some time. There's a really good show, Jess. I think you should watch it because I think you would do it. And it's like biohacking is what they call it. I think we talked about this a couple, maybe last year. And I showed it to my mom, and I only got like a couple of like episodes in, but it was very interesting. And it's the science, and they're doing this in certain areas of like the world. Someone would be like, "Are you kidding me?" But they put things in your body, and how do I say it? They kind of like, how do I say it? It's weird. I forget the show. I need to look it up. But the show is all about gene editing and bio enhancing. So there's this one, she kind of like, and then it goes to the ethics of it, right? But they teach it, and then they go, oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. But someone always does it in a lab. They always do it in a, like research laboratory. Kind of like when you saw the Hulk, right, with She-Hulk, and he had that lab underneath his place. Like they have that, right? And that's kind of what the movie has. So it's like, what's going on? So there's like a lot of young college kids which are just kind of like trying to get their like degree in bioengineering, chemical science, all that is kind of related, but you could put stuff as part of your body, which some people do in it, and I'm like, is this a thing? And I looked it up, it is a thing. And then they go, okay, if I could make like, I'll give you a perfect example. And they always say, don't do this. And I say, yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't want it. But some people are willing to like have a phone as part of your like arm, right? Um, you don't get what I'm saying on that?
No, I have an idea that I think I saw on TV, but continue.
Yeah, so it like at some point I would never do this because it could go faulty. People never think about the problem eventually, right? They go, "Oh, I'll take it out." I go, "I don't want to go under the knife period in a story. Like, why would you want to?" But some people are willing to do that, or let's go to something else entirely different. Bioluminescence, right? There are certain. If you go to Petco, I'll give you a perfect example. That there are fish that are neon color. Okay, they make that in a laboratory and then they produce them. All right, they're not normally that, so they make them bioluminescent. They're plants that you can make bioluminescent, and then they glow in the dark. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, and I also thought of something really incredibly funny.
What?
Well, if you can like turn people to glow in the dark and stuff like that, all criminals should be injected with that.
It's not a bad idea. You can't hide around there. I see you. Dang. That's actually smart. Yeah. So that's the point. It's a good show. It's a really good show, and maybe it's called Bio something. Anyway, it's a thing that they've been doing for quite some time. Back to turning like on certain genes and off certain genes. Certain markers is what they call it, but they mark certain parts of your DNA and say, okay, you have this and you have that. Like you have what do they call it? Uh, what's that word where you have a disposition? Oh, not disposition. That's a deposition. Um, like you may have the markings of cancer, right, in your DNA. It's passed on through your genes. Like, what did you get from your mom? Which when you think about even that, it's pretty amazing. When people think about, like, do you believe in God? Do you believe in a creator? Do you believe in alien? Do you believe in something? The DNA, the reason you have certain features on your body is because of the DNA of your ma, right? And then her ma, and then that ma's ma, and then all the way, up the line. You go, at what point did it divert when other genes get kind of mixed in with other genes? That's called, and people don't want to hear it, but it's called, like, well, some of it's called life. But basically, when one guy and one girl mix together, there you go. Because we have some kids sometimes listening with their parents, so I'm just going to keep it very G. But the point is, when that happens and two people come together, sometimes they have like, how do I say it? I remember seeing, how do I put it? Okay, there was one person who posted a picture. They said, this is what, like, I would have a baby like, but they merged one baby with another baby. It was like 12 years ago or so, maybe longer. And I was like, okay. And that's kind of like, okay, what are the features that it would take? But then you have the baby and it has, like, there's nothing like it, right? Like, right? Like it's, but sometimes things skip. I'll give you an example. In one person, they had a very light baby, but one is Hispanic or Mexican, 100%, and the other happens to be African American, right? And this kid turned out like 100% Caucasian or white. Well, it skipped a generation. He's kind of a mix. The father, who's African American, has a mother who is blonde and white. So it skipped a generation. It looked nothing. I mean, it has features, I should say, of the father, but doesn't look white. So, like, it almost looks like, and I know this for a fact because I was there, but the mother is Mexican. So it's like, how did this white baby get to these, like, it's hard to explain, but it skips a generation. If he goes, oh, my mom is white, they go, oh, that makes sense. See, here's her with blue eyes. It's like, oh, okay. Otherwise you'd be like, that's not your kid. What do you do with that kid? So it's like, or like, how do you know it didn't happen with another person, right? It's like, thankfully his mother is white and he knows that. But if he were adopted, he wouldn't know that. He'd be like, did you cheat on me? No, this is your kid. And then back to DNA. They would check the DNA and the DNA says, oh, match based on this, that, and the other. So back to your thing that I think is pretty cool. What they're doing is they're saying, look, if there's something that hurts you long term, we can edit that. So like if you have a dog and he has a predisposition towards, that's the word, a predisposition, towards, I don't know, some have cancer in the body and it comes out later in life, right? Sometimes it comes early in life, but there's something that triggers it. So that's the thing that if they research more of, what's the trigger? Can you prevent the trigger? That's the on-off thing that they say is happening, but there's always a trigger. The trigger causes one thing, another thing, another thing. So, for example, diabetes, it gets passed in certain people. Other people, it doesn't. They can have as much sugar as they want, but other people don't produce enough. People that understand diabetes, they have it. They know it's all insulin, but it's more complicated than that. It's much more like back to genes. So you can determine in the gene. That's why I always say go watch Gattaca. Gattaca kind of had two brothers. They're completely different, but they have the same mother. But the genes from the father, or maybe not from another father, got passed on differently. Therefore, one has I can't say the word. One is more determined to be one way, the other another way, based on their genes. But what you do in life is completely different. That's why clone is interesting. Clone, or how do I say it? Okay, you take, everybody knows about the famous, goat, right? But now they have dog, and they have other ones that are like, you know about that, right? Like the ones that have been cloned.
Yeah, you're talking about the sheep cloning. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. So all of them, right? They're 100% like a twin, right? But they were grown in a laboratory, not, you know what I mean? So the point is this. I think the question is this because there's so many movies on the subject. People go, no, that's not real. It is real. So back to your story, it's interesting because they can prolong life eventually if they know which marker hurts, like your dog. You take your dog gets like, and I had this happen. I remember being at CES, and one year they said, okay, there were these two twins, right? And they had a problem. They were it looked like they had cerebral palsy, but they kept going to the doctor. They didn't know what it was. All they needed, it was very interesting. I wish I kept their info. All they needed was a particular chemical in their body, and then they look 100% normal. They are no longer a problem. They're not like cerebral palsy. They're 100% normal, but they were able to like figure that out by looking at the genes and what they need in their body. It was a certain type of acid or certain type of chemical that they get regularly, but if they don't have it because their body doesn't produce it, kind of like diabetics don't produce a certain thing to combat sugar, at some point, right? They say, oh, a lot of sugar hurts you. And it does. They have to regulate it more. But when they were young, they didn't have to as much. But then some produce more weight than others. It's like, some people go, oh, it's hard to lose weight. You have a like there's something in your body whereas somebody who can eat the same amount, like everything. So our bodies and our DNA are so interesting, Jess, that it goes to like, okay, let's go back to, can this happen just by accident or is it by design? Does the body, because you can literally with that chemical or that company, what they're doing is saying, look, we have a chemical that can A, turn off certain things and B, turn on certain things to enhance you, right? That's basically what they're saying, to prolong the life. So I think it's very interesting, and it's kind of like all the world of like Jurassic Park. So, back to Mammoth and other things we've been talking about. This is the science that's happening every single day, with or without you knowing. But I think the interesting thing is, where does it go and what is the right thing? And then whatever the right thing is, they're still going to do the wrong thing in a certain country, or even maybe here in the US. Go watch, I think it's called Biohackers. It's very interesting. It's I think it's dubbed, but it's worth a watch. And if you follow it for the first couple of episodes, you'll get into it, and then you're like, okay, then you're captivated. Otherwise, it's a slow one, and you're like, okay. But this is what people are doing. It's called biohacking, and I think, don't ever put electronic into you. Back to like what you're saying, a chip in your body, which Musk is talking about, right? I say because it can be hacked and it could be malfunction at some point and then creates a problem. They always say, no, it isn't. We already have it, but they already tested that on animals. So it's a very interesting science. I have a couple things I'm working on that are like it in terms of story of what you should do or what you should not do. But this has been happening for time. That's why these science fiction movies that you watch, you go, okay, is it possible? There are some that if you go watch them, they're very possible. But then people go, oh, it's not going to happen that way. But sometimes I feel like we're living a story, like Mammoth. Who knew? Oh, they're going to put a mammoth back on the earth because they can. Back to Jurassic Park. Now you're like, so Michael Crichton was right. But Michael Crichton did the research of what they were doing at the very beginning. He said, where could this go eventually? So he went the way of, oh, this is going to be horrible, instead of, oh, this is going to be great, right? So he went extreme. But in a way, he's not wrong, and in a way, he's right, because if you bring mammoth back, you bring certain animal back, will it, in a way, be able to be contained or put away, or will it take over the earth again, right? Or did it ever happen at some point where he would create that? I think there's a point in it where it has a lot of philosophy, but it's a fun ride. But my point is, that's the science. That's why Michael Crichton is a very interesting author, because he did the research of certain science and said, should we? That's the question of the story. Should we? Just because we can doesn't mean we should. And I always go to that, but again, you have people that are criminal, look up skirts, and do all that just think should be locked up in stocks for the shame of it. But the moment he gets out, he'll do it again, right?
Oh yeah. Makes sense. Most of all. Yep.
Yeah, so all right. So there's a lot. I think it's something worth like looking at, and I think just be careful when they start saying you can put things in your body. Don't do that, or change the chemical composition of yourself if it's extreme, right? If you can make yourself neon, don't, Jess, because I can see you do it for fun. Like, look at me, but no. Okay, so there you go. All right, people, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Jess knows it what happens. Oh, Jess.
KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
Your Pharmacy and Mobility Solutions is now Beaumont Pharmacy with a new location at the Sundance Corporate Center. That's at the corner of Highland Springs and 8th in Suite 110. Of course, they still have Pack Your Meds. No more counting out the pills, dropping them on the floor. Oh, what a mess. And they have a full selection of pharmaceutical CBD. Wheelchairs, over-the-counter meds, you name it, they've got it. So if you're looking for the best and you want the best pharmacy, you go to Beaumont Pharmacy at their new location, 835 North Highland Springs, Beaumont Avenue in Beaumont, California, Suite 110. Give them a call, 951-845-8252. The Fat Greek in Yucaipa, where you can get authentic, delicious, true Greek food. Authentic gyros, Greek salads, pitas, falafel, hamburgers, burritos, and oh yes, baklava. The Fat Greek has a large selection of wines, ice-cold domestic, and imported Greek beers. Come on down to the Fat Greek located on Yucaipa Boulevard in the city of Yucaipa. Open 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. The Fat Greek has delivery, drive-through, sit-down, and a catering service. So bring in a family or give Nicholas and Christopher a call at 909-797-6018. Eat Greek, live long. Remember, if you want authentic Greek food, it's the Fat Greek in Yucaipa.
Football season is back, and every Monday night, the Two Coot Lounge at the Yamava Resort and Casino in San Manuel is where you need to be. Come cheer on your favorite team and become a Club Serrano member for your chance to win incredible prizes, enjoy food and drink specials, and be entertained by the 66ers dance team. It's the Monday Night Pigskin Party at the Two Coot Lounge at the brand new Yamava Resort and Casino in San Manuel in Highland, California. Rep your team, and we'll see you there this Monday.
Join Yvette Walker every Tuesday at 4 o'clock p.m. on KMET ABC News Radio, 1490 AM, FM 98.1, and Internet KMET TV for the Southern California Business Report. The show is dedicated to highlighting successful businesses and the individuals behind them. Yvette interviews the incredible people managing these enterprises that range from awe-inspiring sole proprietors to world-renowned organizations. The Southern California Business Report, Tuesdays at 4 o'clock p.m.
That's right. It's the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. We appreciate each and every one of you. We got some things going on. I know, Jess, you're working on something. Before you get there, though, I want to say, to those watching, thank you. Thank you for tweeting. Thank you for retweeting. Thank you for also answer something I posted. I kind of gave you a little bit of a glimpse of something yesterday that I said I would post. And I got to it a little late, so I didn't get it posted at the right time. But I'm doing a comic. I already did a book. I did a children's book. I have a script out there. We have a producer working at from Canada. So I'm happy about that. This one is completely different. This is a comic, but it has an 8-issue episode, like what I would say. And then it has potential for film, which we're talking, we'll see where that goes. But I'm happy because the team I'm working with are like producing like different types of like, what do you want? Like, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? Because sometimes you think character. Jess, I know like you have story in you, and you're like, okay, am I ever gonna like, how am I gonna make them look if I want it in a comic? You know what I mean? Like you could do a very simple comic rather than like a big book, and make it happen. That's my point.
Right. Like the hardest thing would be like, how would you picture that character to look like?
Yeah, exactly. And I have this in my head, and I know what I want, but I'm kind of like, it's similar to that. And then so they have the ability to be like, okay, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? I go, well, I want this. I don't know if I want that. I don't know. So I put it out there on social media, so you guys are kind of like, kind of saying, oh, I like this one, I like this one, because I think there's people that have kind of like, how do I say it? It's good to get input from others without giving out everything. Like, I didn't say the story for a reason. I had a couple of you comment like, well, I want to know the story. Well, that's the point, but I got to like get it done. So we're in the development stage. That's kind of what we're doing. So I've been busy with that, and I'm happy about it because I'm getting closer to what I want, but it's not the final. So I'm going, okay, what do you guys think? Should it be this? Should it be that? Should it be this? So you can weigh in. Go follow me, Aaron M. Sanchez. I post a couple photos, one of a boy and another of a woman. And I haven't said the story of their relationship, but it's a very interesting story. And I'll release more info as it comes and then get your input. I always like getting input of others because then people kind of like have, and sometimes you don't even think it the way they think it. But it's like, okay, always be open to possibly going in a direction you didn't expect. But I know what direction I'm going because I already wrote the script. But I'll be honest, Jess, I did it very simple. I didn't write it down. I spoke it. So I spoke it, then I recorded it, then I transcribe it. I upload it to YouTube, and then I have YouTube do it in caption mode, and then I download that, and that's my, that's how I did all my books. I said this a while back. I said, this is what you should do. Then we had a musician on here. But yeah, so, and then I have another one that I'm working on, but it's kind of like night and like dragon and other things. A prince is involved. I already recorded the voiceover of that with the people that I said, oh, like, this is kind of the story of, something I'm thinking about when I heard a voice, and I heard the voice. I said, okay, let's do it. And then let's have a demo ready because I'm going to meet with certain people that are going to want to know, like, dragon, there's going to be a story about dragon because, like, Amazon's producing stuff. There's Netflix. There's a lot of stuff on dragon. So, I want that. But is it a book? Is it a film? Is it, we know a lot of people, thankfully, to what we do. And we're in the area of Hollywood. So there's a lot of people here. But sometimes you just meet them on the fly. So I say, always have something ready, produce something. Then when you're ready, say, okay, here it is, So it's one of those things where it sounds hard. It's not. When I first got into this biz, to be honest, somebody said to me, oh, you do sales? I go, yeah. He goes, well, then you could produce. I said, how is producing sales? And in essence, it's this. If you could talk to people, Jess, you could be a producer eventually, but there's so many different types of producers. He was looking for someone who would bring the funds to his film. We're working together again, and hopefully we can make it. But, it's like, okay, it just depends on the person and what they like, right? Some people invest in things they like. Some invest in things that, like, you know what I mean? So that's why there's all kinds of film, all kinds of TV, there's all kinds of stuff. There's good stuff, there's stuff, there's like, whatever. There's stuff that you go, wow, that's 80s. My mom's watching a bunch of stuff from 80s right now, watching it on Tubi, which you can find on Roku, which is free content, right? As long as you have internet, Roku is free, right? But back to something, and I keep telling you this, Jess, that's why I say just, do a comic out of it. Just do the script, and then I can help you with, like, the visuals. I got a great team, and they're working together, So I think just do it, you know what I mean? Get it done. Have, think like issue, number 1, number 2, number 3. Some people do a graphic novel. I don't like graphic novel because I don't think people buy graphic novel long term. I want to get something into the store or in front of you where you go, okay, I got it, and I want it with good art. I cannot have it with bad art because I collect, like, ever since I was a kid, comic, but I don't like comic that has bad art. It doesn't work for me. Some people do, and some people like the story. I don't know if you ever read comic like Hellboy, for example. If you look at the very early people that read that, it's a very certain style. Sin City, a very certain style, right? Frank Miller, perfect example. But now, when you go forward, you go, oh, they made the movie. Well, the movie made a lot of money for the original creator of the story, right? And that's kind of the thought. So that's what we're talking about the story, because it has a big, like, it could have, honestly, anywhere from, like, 8 to 12 seasons, because it's that big. People always say, oh, I have a story that's that big. I go, that's good, keep it going. But it's a world of its own, and this is like the beginning of it. You know what I mean? So I have a person that I want to play. I just need to get the artist that actually makes it look like him, because I want him eventually. I'm going to say it right here, right now. Tony Danza. Okay? Tony Danza. If anyone knows Tony Danza, if you remember him, do you remember Tony Danza, Jess?
Tony Danza. I can't remember the show, but I know who you're talking about.
Who's the Boss? He was also
that's the show.
Yeah, he was also in Taxi, right? Tony Danza is the one I want for the film. He's the story, in my opinion. So I've already written it that way. He's the one. So if anyone knows Tony Danza, I need to get to him. Because in this world, it's very small. And I realize with social and with people, sometimes people just know people, right? But I want to get to him and get him to be the guy, but yeah, so if people go, oh, it looks like Tony Danza ish, because I don't want to make it cartoon like, but I got to make it look like him as now. He's he's not young anymore, but he used to be kind of like boxing mode. But he's just got this look and this talk, and he's really good. He's the one that was like, what's her name? She would trust, right? She would look up to him. Like I don't know what the relationship was, but if you go look at Who's the Boss, you'll understand what I'm talking about, and that's the guy of the film. But I'm doing it in comic first because I want it out there, and it's called a property. So that's why I say get it done, get it out of your head, and then get it, on something. You know what I mean? And with social the way it is, it doesn't take long for people. Like, I'll give you an example. I've been kind of touting this. Tell me if you guys want this, or if it's a good idea. Should I do a crowdfunding thing once I have the it in development mode, because that could help it publish already. I mean, I met somebody at I talked about it over here at Comic Con, right? It was the LA Comic Con, and I met a couple. I'm not sure if they're married or not, but they sold $30,000 worth on a Kickstarter program of their game, all right? And they produced their game like en masse, and they had a person which obviously was in production, which was able to like make it real, right? And they did kind of probably a prototype. They said, okay, in order to make this, like, instead of us paying for it, do you guys want it? And they got into the right circle of people that like games and like maybe Dungeons and Dragons, maybe Magic and other. And it's completely different though. But they sold 30-some thousand of product of this game, and they had different levels and different things. It's very interesting, very well put together, a little too put together in my opinion, because it's hard to sell at the store, right? But people are willing to say, hey, here's a couple bucks, or here's a donation, or this or that. And I will say this, we did a music video this way for fans of a particular artist years ago, and I got brought in as a producer for that. And then with social media, we just kind of passed the word, and then there was media done about it. But we had a film. I'm thinking of resurrecting that as well, because that I helped out, but it petered out because we didn't get the amount of funds that we wanted for the initial shot setup. But it was kind of like, it's more. I think they should just do story, and maybe they could go comic first and then film later, because the writer's very talented. She's a very good writer. She's a good director, but she wants to direct it right away because she can, but she needs the funds to get studio, to be able to pay certain people. And that's when you see a lot of those Kickstarter things, but people kind of are holding on to the money. So I go, I don't know that works. But if you have a finished product like a comic, at what price would you buy the comic just to support, Jess?
Wait, say that again.
How much would, okay, if it were, okay, comics are all over the place. I have one I'm looking at right now, but it was done for Comic-Con. They're anywhere from $2.99 to $3.99. How much would you pay to say, hey, I support?
Oh yeah, I'm $3.99.
Okay, thank you. I thought you were going to say no. Only if it's free. But people do that, right? They go only if it's free. So at $3.99, right, times 1,000 people, that's $4, right? That's how much is that? 4 times 1,000. That's 4,000, right? Dollars? It's not $400.
Yeah, somewhere around that.
$100. Let's see. 100 times $4 is 400, right? Yeah, so 4,000. So you get 1,000 people to get that. Can you get a printer to get it done for less? Because they're expensive. That's the problem with the comic industry. The comic industry has to produce so many in order to offset the cost. So when you go to get a comic, remember it's broken down by everything. So, but if you think of the world and you think you could go that way, then that's where it goes big. You don't charge $30 for a comic, right? Unless it's a novel, right? Or a graphic novel, right? And even then people are like, I'm not going to pay that much. But at and they used to be, if you look at comics back in the day, but that's called inflation, they used to be 25 cents when I was a kid. Now they're $3.99, $4.99, right? I'm like, that's a little much. I remember, and I pulled out some comics because I'm like, okay, what style do I want? And it was $1.99 to $2.50, right? And I asked a kid, I said, would you buy this? He goes, yeah, because I love the art. But it was done in the 90s. So I'm like, the 90s stuff needs to be redone because the kids don't know it. Now, if you go to a comic store, and I don't know if you've been to a comic store anytime, as of, recent, but you have them, and there's a lot. So there's a lot of competition. So some people go, oh, there's too much competition. I say, no, not really, if you think long term. If you think long term, I'll give you a perfect example. Keanu Reeves, and I have his comic. I got it right away. I said, oh, Keanu Reeves. Who thought Keanu Reeves would make a comic? Did you know, Jess?
I did know. I have the first 2 issues, the variant, different covers and stuff like that.
Yeah, who, like, and you think, okay, Keanu Reeves, you think actor, right? But he created a comic. Now, there's something very interesting. Keanu Reeves is very in the know, obviously, and he's with the right people. So you go, oh, okay, that makes sense. But if you look at Cyberpunk, okay, that is a show on Netflix. I just watched it. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. It's like a type of anime that I like. I love anime. This story could go anime, by the way. It has that potential. So I'm working with some others that they're like, okay, do you want to do anime? I'm like, not sure if we're there yet. Can you produce some result? They said, yeah, sure. I said, okay. So we may kind of say, what do you think about this style? I may post that in the next couple of days and then say, what do you think about this? Of the same character, but done anime style. Because that's the thing. Your story, if you do it now, you can think different levels of story of different type of like result, right? People watch anime and then some people get so addicted that they love the anime and then they buy a product eventually. But they don't buy it right away. So you have to think long term. All the authors of like 30, 40 years ago, honestly, are starting to see their stuff done now. Like Lee, right? Stan Lee was always in the know of comic, but it didn't really get big until they made a movie, right? Back to Iron Man. But it was really him because he had clout, he had power, and he had the ability to bring a bunch of producers in at a party. Go look it up. Very interesting. And he set the stage for what would happen to where we're at now. So when I hear people go, oh, there's too many comic films, I go, yeah, but you know what? You weren't like a kid that used to think and theorize, wouldn't this be cool back to when you're a kid, right? So there's kid now, which they look at certain like things. Okay, like Pokemon, for example. Pokemon with, what's his name? Ryan Reynolds was very important because they did something that a lot of fans were like, okay, that I will go see. They had a lot of movies. You still play Pokemon. Pokemon exists in all like different types of mediums, right? And that's how they get money eventually. What I mean by that is you play the video game, they have the comic, they have cartoon, they have Netflix, they have distribution, they have all that, which I happen to know. I met at a particular event. I was called AFM. I met the team who they used to work on Pokemon. They do other anime now, but they were able to bring it from like Asia to here, and they worked on it, I think in the 90s or maybe the 2000s. But the point is, we're in the area where it makes sense. But even online, if you know people and you have connection and or people that can do things, you can make things happen, is my point. So do that and have fun. All right, let's go to social media real quick before we go to a break. Stephanie Reed, thank you. She says, hello, happy editing on set of commercials for this glorious, gloomy, awesomeness, busy day ad for today. And she lives in Ohio, okay? So she's interested in, honestly, like all kinds of stuff. She does video production. She does stuff for people around her. She does some good stuff, and she's always busy, right? So good job. Renee Antonio Arbizo says, rock on, Renee. Algenia Kirsten says, good morning, bright sunny day here. Nice, it's cold in some areas, and they're dealing with storm. Yikes. Says, back on schedule. I start Monday, we'll be able to tune in normal. Oh, good. Okay, we missed you. It says, did you guys hear a report of alligators coming out the river, lakes, and Atlantic? Didn't know. Because the deep water is cold and it's high tide seen in the ocean. Everybody like it's winter, not spring. The babies are coming out in flocks of 12 or more. Okay, says in my family. And then talks about the other thing about kids and how they skip a mark. She says in my family, the lighter kids, they have lighter kids that have this birthmark like a fish, bird, turtle. Oh, that's interesting. Jeans. No, I saw a report recently about Taylor Swift being like a thing of, where was it? Was it TikTok or something? I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about Taylor Swift and other people.
Mm-hmm.
What crazy one are you? What did you hear?
I would just be like, she doesn't age, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, so she says, so they have these birthmarks. Says, my grandmother on daddy's side Or African Indians. Okay. She had gray eyes, green, hazel, and blue. That's just African tribe of Ethiopia, Sudan, Somaliland, Desert Arabians, other areas. Okay. They're all darker than me with the eyes. Married European have blues. Oh, in other words, like they have eyes that are different. It says we're all nothing more than a genetic version of Adam and Eve. My great grandparents Adam and Eve were fine and created, and you know, and then it says a lot of other stuff. So all right, good. And then M Sedano, thank you for watching. Thank you, Vivi. Thank you for watching. Okay, people, we're gonna take a quick break. We've got more, but remember, there are things that are making sense around the world. The question is, should you? When it comes to Mammoth, I say that depends, but I wouldn't. But that's them, not me. So I don't have power over that, but there you go. All right, we'll be right back right after this. Stay tuned.
Mattress Brothers Overstock Mattress Sale. Just $3.99 for a foam-encased queen pillow top set. $3.99. Check out Mattress Brothers $3.99 Overstock Sale. Mattress Brothers at 120 West Redlands Boulevard in Redlands. The $3.99 Overstock Sale is on now. $3.99 for a foam-encased queen pillow top set. Mattress Brothers also has locations in Hemet, Riverside, and Palm Desert. The $3.99 queen pillow top sale on now.
Don't let insurance companies make decisions for you. Go to Pass Auto Center in Banning, your one-stop repair facility with full collision repair, auto maintenance, service, and an authorized smog center. You'll also find a full-service used car lot to fit every budget with the right vehicle for you. Trade-ins are accepted and they pay cash for your car. Pass Auto Center at 2609 West Ramsey in Banning, just off the I-10 freeway between Sunset and 22nd. Call 951-849-7878.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state? Did you miss sending out a prior year tax return? The IRS is out to collect now more than ever, and they'll use any means necessary. They legally can and will garnish your wages, take your money, and even seize your property. If you're behind on your taxes, call the Tax Relief Hotline right now at 951-224-9000. That's 951-224-9000. 951-224-9000. You can legally get your tax debt under control, and in many cases, get the breathing room you need. Garnished wages, property seizures, bank levies can stop immediately, but you have to call. Many of our specialists are IRS enrolled agents. They know the system and how to make it work for you. Don't wait for the IRS to come down on you. Act now so you can get your tax debt under control. Call the Riverside office today for free info at 951-224-9000. That's 951-224-9000. 951-224-9000. New teen driver in the family? Just bought your first home? Have a new bundle of joy? Every life change matters, and by reviewing your insurance policy with Little & Sons Insurance Services, you could be benefiting with big savings. Little & Sons Insurance Services, a family-owned insurance agency who values the old-fashioned way of doing business. They work for you, not an insurance company, meaning your best interests are at heart. They can custom tailor your policy based on specific needs at a price you can afford. Home, auto, or business, you're covered. Call 1-844-9-LITTLE. That's 1-844-9-LITTLE, or go online to little, the letter N, sons.com. That's littlensons.com.
Hello, listeners. This is Christopher from The Christopher Show. Hey, if you missed one of our shows here at KMET, don't worry about it. You can go to our webpage, and that's KMET1490am.com. Go to the homepage, click on the SoundCloud tab, and hear any show anytime you want.
That's right. It's the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET, 1490 AM. We've got Jess over there. Jess, I got to say this really quick. This happened on TikTok, evidently. I don't know if I should read the headline, but I will say this. If, let's say, somebody kind of like said, oh, I'm this person. Don't worry. I can't see you in person, but, you know, I'm alive. And then you found out they were dead years later. What would you do, Jess?
Okay, that's actually, I don't know. I mean, so someone's pretending to be a dead person?
Yeah.
Oh, I have so many questions right now. Like I would be, I don't know. I have so many questions, but continue. I'm afraid of where this is going. Please, I hope it's good.
Well, I think in a way it is, because it's done in the right I think. But if it gets out, and I'm sure it is, I don't know. I haven't read the story, but here it is. Okay, this woman, and I'll show you. Hopefully, you can see her. This woman is pretending to be evidently her sister, but her sister is no longer alive. So here it is, the headline. Okay, I'm gonna break it down. It says a TikToker says she pretends to be her identical twin every holiday for her grandparents who don't know she died.
Oh, okay, that is tragic. But okay, for this reason, yes, I would say that's a good thing. At least until they pass away this way, they won't have to know. Especially if they were to, because I'd be afraid that if they were to find out, maybe they would get too heartbroken, or I don't know. I would be too. Yeah, no, that's wow, that's a crazy situation. I never thought I would hear that.
Yeah, I know. The things that people like say on TikTok, but I'll say it gets out now that the media knows. Is somebody gonna say, "Is that our niece? Did you know?" Like, oh no. It says NIU, a TikToker with over 100,000 followers, posted a video on Christmas in which she said her twin sister died 3 years ago. All right, so that's interesting. Like, why did you not invite them? I think they would want to know. It says, but that she called her grandparents every holiday pretending to be her because they didn't know. She shared a short video of her talking on the phone, presumably with her grandparents. Oh no, this is gonna be bad, Jess. Back to media. I think she thought Lil not big. I think it's gonna get out of hand with her and her fam. Okay. It says it's been viewed 8.9 million times. Now we're talking about it. I guarantee others are gonna talk about it because like what? New followed up the initial video with an explanation post, which received over 1 million views, so it's getting out of hand, all right? She said her sister, who she didn't name, died from meningitis. Okay, that makes sense. An infection of the protective membranes around the spinal cord and brain that usually affect babies, children, and teenagers. Vaccines that offer some protection are available. A meningitis infection can be fatal because it can cause blood poisoning. Didn't know. She said it's common in Asian culture to shield the elderly from terrible news. I know that. I've been around a family that shielded everything from their, parents. And I'm like, they need to know. You're not doing, it's not going to help. She said this. A lot of people are like, oh, well, they deserve to know. I would say yes, because it's going to get out. She says, well, they don't deserve to die, and you can't guarantee that's not going to happen if you tell them. I think she means, like if they die not knowing, it would be better for them, right? She added that her grandparents basically raised her and her sister, so they were very close. She said, we're probably just going to continue making up excuses why she isn't visiting. It's like, oh, she's busy. She said she dreamed about her sister almost every night. Oh, that's cute. She says, so I treat it as I am spending half of my life with her still because I see her every night. Oh, she missed her. So cute. She said the video received thousands of comments, some offering support, others questioning her choices. I have a question. I'm not going to lie. Gonna get out of hand because now everyone's talking about it. She says, again, people don't understand how big TikTok is. Just like, and media pulls from it. And then they're going to see this and be like, what? Like, if anything, yeah, so there you go.
She's doing this for 3 years. Okay, she's just digging a hole, and she's just making it so much worse. I know where she's coming from, but right now she's making it so much worse.
I think it's interesting. She's like, I need money. And then the other one goes, yeah, I need money too. Like, hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, well, while she's, she changes her hair from time to time. I'm the other one. No, I'm the other one. Oh, God.
Grandma send like birthday gifts and cards and presents and stuff like that. Then you're just like, wow. I don't know.
double. I need some money, Grandma. Do you mind? It's tough over here. I do too. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, she says, let's see. Another TikToker, Danisha, said her decision to pretend to be her twin makes complete sense. And then she was surprised people don't understand. Yeah, it makes sense until it gets found out. That's the problem. You went too public. You should have been quiet about it, right? So another person wrote this. It's so selfless of you to do that to protect your grandparents, even though it must be painful. Sending you so much love today. Okay, so those are people that understand, but I say this, it's getting out, man. With that many people watching, I guarantee someone in the fam, unless they're not related to anyone, are going to figure it out. And then you're going to say, all right, just so you know. It's kind of like, and I don't know if you know this, but there are certain parents that don't want to tell the kid, I may have killed the dog. So they buy another dog that's the same. You know what I'm talking about, Jess?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what or like when they replace like a goldfish. He'd be like, "Oh no, he's just sleeping. He'll be fine when you come back from school." Lies.
Did that happen, Jess? Do you have theories that were never explained? You're like, why does he look different all of a sudden? I know my fish, right?
No, no, I saw that in a bunch of like movies and TV shows where they're like, "Yeah, do you remember your friend Roscoe?" Like, "Yeah, you said he moved to a farm up north." Yeah, no. And they're like, they find out when they're an adult. They're like, "Wait, what?
Here's a
Are you
picture
saying
of your
that?"
dog. He's doing fine. It's a picture of a similar dog. I know.
That's horrible. Yeah, it happens. But you know what? Just rip off the band-aid. 3 years, it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, yeah, maybe like now some people, right? Some people they have a heart. If you have a person in a home, right, or you're taking care of them and they have amnesia, right, or I should say Alzheimer's, not amnesia. They have Alzheimer's, right? They keep forgetting, right? They're like, "Who are you?" And you're the daughter, right? And then they think somebody else's, or they're like, "Oh, my daughter's gonna visit me." You're like, "I'm right here." At some point, you just play into it, right? But if they're like, "You look like this or that," that means they're coming around. So don't pretend. Just be like, "It's me." As long as you have them, then they go back in that state, and they're like, "Who are you?" And you're like, "Oh." So I always go, if I got old, would I want that? No, right? I don't want amnesia, right? I don't want to forget who I am. If anything, just show me a video of me talking. I'll be like, okay, I know who I am. Anyway, there you go. We're out of time, people. There's the news of the day. It's all over the place. I'll post more stuff. Get your input. We're still, in the, kind of stage of like making it. But would you pay $3.99 for a comic if I crowdfunded it? Let me know. All right, people, make it a great day. Whatever you do, remember life is worth living. Live it well. Bye, everyone.